Hello. Hi, I'm Elijah Barker, and today I'm here to talk about Jonathan Collins and Ray Block Jr.'s article, which talks about campaign enthusiasm and civic duty as far as African American voting. The Collins and Block article highlights the representation of African American voting behavior. This quote that I found on page 3 suggests that age can influence the relative roles that enthusiasm and civic duty play in voting choices of African Americans. They count this as the enthusiasm gap, and it is common for different age groups within the African American community to not share those same views um, on voting and on the election. But that doesn't mean that just because some young kids or some older people don't vote, that doesn't mean that they're not still doing their civic duty and being active as far as those issues like, segregation, racism, discrimination, so on and so forth. Another quote that stood out to me was, as a cohort, they were socialized during the same historical era of Jim Crow and either witnessed or participated in mass protest demonstrations from lunch counter sit-ins and economic boycotts to freedom rides. As a result, they developed a distinctive political outlook on their experiences with racial discrimination, segregated schools, voter disenfranchisement, and economic hardships. I found this quote on page 7, and I like this quote because it was basically saying how the older generation was more, excuse me, was more involved with their politics and with their government, and just because during that civil rights era and Jim Crow, it was more common for people to be involved into like protests and to riot and different things like that. And so this quote suggests how the traumatic experiences such as segregation and racial discrimination played a role in shaping the political views of African American older African Americans. I'm sorry. The article also notes that older generations who lived through key civil rights movements that their political views are rooted in these inequalities. One thing that I found this article to kind of connect with was critical race theory. Um, it kind of shows how laws, as far as like, Jim Crow and civil rights laws, they reflect the racial power dynamics that have had an influence on all of our legal systems and our government, and also how African Americans play a role into these systems and how they are affected by it. And so I chose a critical race theory because it shows just that dynamic between race and power. Is that you don't have power if you're not a certain race. And if you're not a certain race, then you don't have power. And it kind of just shows the connection with those two. I'm sorry. Um, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate myself. Like a 7. I try my best to stay informed about current events during the election and things like that, but I'm not as active on it just because when you're worried, when you have your own life and you have like, active things going on, you tend to not worry about things that don't have a direct effect on you. But I do try my best to just stay involved and stay aware because even though it doesn't have a direct effect on me, it will eventually. And those indirect effects will make up to equal a direct effect on me. Um, like others, I tend to be more active during high-stake election cycles, but I do make the effort to understand the key issues, vote, and participate in political discussions. With the recent presidential elections, it has made me more aware of the complexity of local and national issues and how race, class, and age has an effect on voting patterns. After seeing how this election transpired, I'm more concerned with voter suppression, social justice, and economic inequality. These are issues that were shaped heavily by race and historical oppression, and were also issues that align with the message of Collins and Black article and critical race theory. Yes, and I will say that this election has definitely opened my eyes to propaganda, um, as far also voter suppression, economic inequality, and I think that this election was a good example of that because we have a powerful, rich white man going up against a powerful in her own way Black woman. And so it was really amazing to see that even though Kamala did not win the presidential election, it was still nice to see her get out there, bring people together, um, to try to make an impact and a change for our country. And so that is it. Thank you for watching this and have a nice day. Thank you.